Hello and welcome back to Koala Moon, children's bedtime stories and meditations designed to make bedtime a dream. The Best Christmas Ever by Luke Prendergast. Noel peeped open an eye, just one, and just a teeny tiny bit, so that he could see what was occurring. It was still very dark, pitch black. He closed his eyes again and lay in the warm cocoon of his bed, feeling his heart thumping, boom, 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 in his chest. Noel wondered what time it could be. How long had he been asleep? It felt like ages ago, practically years, since his mum had tucked him into bed the night before and kissed him on the forehead and turned off the light. But maybe it had only been an hour or two. Maybe it had only been a few minutes. He didn't like the thought of that at all, because even though it still seemed like it was the middle of the night, Noel didn't feel tired. Not one bit. In fact, he was wide awake. There was no chance he was going to be able to fall back asleep. He was too fizzy with excitement, because today was a very special day. A very special day indeed. He heard a noise, a creaking of a floorboard. He opened his eyes, both of them this time, and saw that his little sister, Elfie, had slipped out of her bed. Her dark, shadowy silhouette was treading lightly over the bedroom floor towards his bed now. "Elfie," Noel whispered, "it's still night time. Go back to bed." But she had already hopped lightly onto his own bed, making the mattress sag a little. "It's not night time, Noel," Elfie whispered back. "Look." And she pointed up to the clock on the wall, which, in green neon numerals, told them she was right. It wasn't night, it was morning. It was already 7 o'clock. Noel felt a huge wave of relief move through him, and then another whizzing fizz of excitement. Elfie leaned down and whispered in his ear, "Do you think Santa has been?" He could see her more clearly now in the dawn light leaking through the curtains. He gave her a huge grin. "Just what I was thinking," he said. "Let's go find out." Noel pushed back the covers and got out of bed, feeling the cold air on his arms and the cold floor beneath his feet. He and Elfie tiptoed across the room and out onto the landing, which looked exactly the same as it always had. This was the weirdest thing about Christmas, Noel always thought. Even when Santa had visited, the house looked exactly the same. So you never knew until you got downstairs whether he'd even been at all. They crept along the landing, held onto the banister, and stepped down a couple of steps, when suddenly, "What do you two think you're doing?" They turned around. It was their dad. He was standing there outside the bedroom door in his blue and red stripy pajamas, rubbing sleep from his eyes with the heel of his palm and looking down at them sleepily. "It's Christmas morning," whispered Noel, careful not to wake his mum up if she was still sleeping. "Oh, is it really?" replied his dad as if he had no idea. But then he gave them a cheeky wink. Elfie could barely contain her excitement. "We want to see if Santa's been," she said. "Well, we better go and check then," said her dad. "Off we go." Noel and Elfie's dad followed them down the stairs. The door of the living room, where there was the fireplace Santa used as a way into the house, and the Christmas tree they'd all decorated at the beginning of December, was shut. When she got to it, Elfie paused and looked round at Noel nervously. He could tell that she was worried, in case this time, for some inexplicable reason, Santa hadn't been. "Don't worry, Elfie," he said, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I bet he's been. Come on, let's look." And with her big brother's words of encouragement, Elfie pushed open the door. It took a little while for their eyes to adjust, but when they finally did, Elfie gasped and put a hand to her mouth. "He's been!" she squealed. The living room was transformed from the way it had been the night before. The stockings, which they'd hung up empty above the fireplace the night before, were now full to the brim and spilling over with little presents. The small plate that they'd left by the fireplace with a couple of carrots and a mince pie so that Santa and his reindeer would have a snack to munch on during their long, long night of delivering presents all across the world, was empty. Now there was just the empty tin wrapper of the mince pie and the end of a carrot with tooth marks in it, which one of the reindeers obviously hadn't wanted. And, best of all, under the Christmas tree, with its gold and red glittering baubles and its silver-winged angel perched on top, were lots and lots of presents. Big ones, small ones, wrapped in green wrapping paper and brown wrapping paper, spilling over each other, some of them tied up with string. Elfie was already knelt beside the tree, picking up and inspecting the presents and saying, "This one's for you, Noel, and this one's for Mum. And this one," she picked up a box wrapped in bright yellow paper, "this one's for me." "Presents later," said their dad sternly but kindly. "Take your stockings upstairs and jump into bed with Mum. She's waiting for you. I'll be up in just a moment." Noel and Elfie did just as he said, grabbing their stockings, his was blue, hers was yellow, and running up the stairs to jump into their parents' bed. It was a tradition in their household that they always opened their stockings that way. Their mum was sat up in bed, but she was still soft and sleepy and in the low lamplight glow. "Merry Christmas, kids," she said, opening her arms to hug them both. "Merry Christmas, Mum," they said, nestling in on either side of her. Soon enough, their dad reappeared, bearing 2 mugs of hot tea for himself and their mum. "Okay, guys," he said, "time to tuck in." So all together, as their mum blew the steam from her mug and sipped her tea noisily, they began to take presents one by one out of their stockings. There were bubbles and card games, an orange and an apple each. Elfie pulled out a stack of animal stickers that she'd had her eye on all year. And in the bottom of his stocking, Noel discovered a super cool pair of bright green gloves. "Oh, yes," he said, trying them on. "These will be perfect protection when it comes the time for making snowballs." At the thought of snow, he looked out the window, where the blue sky was cloudless and clear. "I wonder whether there'll be snow this Christmas," he said. When they were done emptying their stockings, it was breakfast time. They all went downstairs in their pyjamas, and their dad turned on the radio, so they could listen to Christmas tunes. Noel and Elfie loved it when their dad sang along, because he had such a deep and rumbling voice, and he held his belly and threw his head back when he sang, as though he was performing on the stage. They ate a delicious breakfast of toast and scrambled eggs and lots of fruit and berries as well. And because it was Christmas, which was an extra special day of the year, Noel and Elfie had a mug of hot chocolate too, with an extra spoonful of chocolate each. When they'd finished helping wash up all the plates, they stood at the door expectantly. "Please," Elfie said, "is it present time yet?" Their dad threw a dishcloth over his shoulder and rubbed his stubble thoughtfully. He looked at their mum. What do you think?" he asked her. "Do you reckon it's time?" Said their mum. She looked up at the ceiling as though contemplating the question very deeply indeed. They knew she was only drawing it out deliberately. It was excruciating having to wait. "Oh, okay then," she finally said. "I guess it's time." "Hooray!" they cried. They all gathered around the Christmas tree, and Elfie handed out the boxes one by one, which was her favourite way of doing the Christmas presents every year. Their mum got a beautiful bracelet with little gemstones gathered up all around it. "Well, thank you, Santa," she said, putting it on and looking at it admiringly. Their dad got a jumper, the colour of dark red wine. "Perfect," he said. Elfie got a craft set for making all kinds of fun decorations out of dried pasta and paint. "Yay!" she cried. And Noel got a stack of books about magicians who cast all kinds of crazy magic spells and have to team up together, despite their differences, to vanquish a dragon that was terrorizing the land. He'd been wanting them all year. "Cool, thanks, Santa," he whispered. They opened the rest of the presents under the tree until the only ones left were ones that didn't have their names on. They were ones for their grandparents and for family friends, who would pick them up when they came over. "All done," Noel said in a bittersweet tone. He was very happy with everything he'd got that year. He'd also got a brand new t-shirt, some socks, and a ginormous puzzle of the entire world. But it was always a bit sad when all the presents were finished and there was nothing left to open. "1 second, everyone," their mum said. She looked at their dad with a quizzical look on her face. "I'm sure I saw something in the kitchen," she said to him. "A box all wrapped up in red wrapping paper. Surely Santa can't have left a present in there, too." "You know," said their dad, cocking his head and nodding at her in agreement, "I think you're right. I think I saw one there too. Should I go and check?" "I think you should," their mum told him. And while their dad went out of the room to look for this mysterious present, Noel and Elfie exchanged a glance that was rich with meaning. Another present? In the kitchen? What could this possibly be? They sat on the sofa with their hands balled up in their laps, waiting impatiently for their dad to return. Soon enough, he did, and when he came back into the living room, he was carrying a box wrapped in bright red, shiny wrapping paper, just like their mum had described. He pointed to the tag on top. It says, "To Noel and Elfie, Merry Christmas. Love from Santa." Their dad put the box on the floor and stood back. Then, to their great surprise, the box suddenly moved. It twitched, and then a rustling sound came from within, as though there was something in there. Something alive, Noel thought as a little thrill went through his tummy. Noel and Elfie approached the box with bubbling excitement. The box rustled again. The siblings exchanged a wide-eyed glance. Together, they lifted the lid off the box. And out jumped the most adorably cute, black, curly-haired puppy. It jumped straight out of the box and into Elfie's lap, wagging its little tail and trying to kiss her face. Then it ran over to Noel and span in circles in his lap, trying to kiss him too. The puppy had a bright red bow on, which matched the box identically. "Hello, puppy," Noel said, and gave the little thing a scratch behind the ears. The puppy seemed to like this very much, for when Noel stopped, it nudged his hand as though asking him to carry on. Elfie had run into their mum's arms. "A puppy, a puppy," she kept saying. "I can't believe we have a puppy." Noel thought he had never heard his sister sounding so happy. "What's his name?" Noel asked, looking from his mum to his dad and back again. His dad shrugged. "That's for you to decide, kiddo," he said. Noel looked down at the puppy in his lap, which was now looking back up at him with big, shiny button eyes. It stuck out its little pink tongue. "I think we should call him Rudolph," said Noel. He looked at Elfie, who slipped out of her mum's arms and came over to look at the puppy. "He doesn't have a red nose," she said, stroking his head. "No," Noel agreed, "but he did arrive on Christmas." "Rudolph," said Elfie, rolling the word around her tongue, testing it out for size. "Yes," she gave the puppy a scratch behind the ears. "He's called Rudolph. It suits him perfectly." All afternoon, while their parents were preparing the Christmas dinner, Noel and Elfie played with Rudolph. He was a very clever puppy indeed. It didn't take him long at all to learn how to sit and how to lie down, especially when he knew there was the reward of a little treat if he did as he was told. At one point, Rudolph found one of their dad's old slippers and sat in the corner chewing on it happily. "Tomorrow we'll have to go to the pet store to buy some puppy toys," the dad said. "Otherwise none of us will have any shoes left." Soon there was a ring at the door. It was their grandparents come to enjoy Christmas dinner with them. "Merry Christmas, Grandma. Merry Christmas, Grandpa," they said, receiving kisses on their cheeks. Their grandpa was carrying a bag of gifts which he emptied under the tree, and their grandma took the Christmas pudding she was carrying through to the kitchen to keep it somewhere safe. "And who's this?" their grandpa said, kneeling down creakily to give the puppy a pat on the head. "That's Rudolph," said Elfie. "Isn't he perfect?" "Oh, yes," their grandpa agreed. "Perfect. Just perfect." It wasn't long before dinner was ready, and their dad called everyone to their table. They gathered around while their parents carried the food to the table. What a feast! Roast potatoes that were somehow both fluffy and crispy. Steaming bowls of broccoli and parsnips and carrots. Pots of thick gravy. Sparkling saucers of cranberry sauce and mashed Brussels sprouts. A Christmas special. "This looks delicious," said their grandma, and everyone agreed. Before they tucked in, they all picked up their crackers. Noel pulled one with his dad, and he won. He put on the red paper Christmas crown and picked up the keyring that had fallen from the torn cracker. He then pulled one with his grandma, which he lost. He helped her put her golden crown on her head, and then she leant over and whispered in his ear, "You can have my present too," and slipped him a miniature pack of playing cards. Soon enough, everyone had a Christmas hat on, in a variety of different colours, red, blue, green and gold, and their dad read out a joke that had fallen out of the cracker. "What do snowmen wear on their heads?" Everyone looked around. No one had a clue. "What do snowmen wear on their heads?" their grandma asked. "Ice caps," said his father, and they all fell about laughing before tucking into their food. At the end of dinner, Noel fed a tiny piece of carrot to Rudolph as a special Christmas treat. "What do we want to do now?" asked their grandpa, once all the plates had once again been washed up, the leftovers stowed away in the fridge, and the dishwasher put on. Noel and Elfie only had one thing on their minds: present time. The family gathered once again in the living room, but this time with Grandma and Grandpa too. It was getting late. Outside, the winter sun was already setting, and the sky was a purpled twilight. There was still no sign of snow, though. Elfie handed out the gifts once more. Grandma opened a lovely purple cardigan, and Grandpa got a book about golf. Elfie got a lovely raincoat from her grandparents, with a pattern of daisies all over it. Finally, Noel opened his present. It was a Christmas movie, about a grumpy man who doesn't like Christmas. "I bet he'll like Christmas by the end," Noel said. "Well," said his grandma with a chuckle, "shall we find out?" And so the whole family nestled down to watch a movie. Their dad and grandpa sat on armchairs with cups of tea, and Noel and Elfie snuggled up on the sofa with their mum and grandma. Rudolph came in to join them. He curled up on the floor by the side of the sofa and promptly fell asleep. They turned on the television and began to watch the movie together, and as they watched, Noel noticed Elfie's eyes beginning to drift shut. It had been a long day, a day full of love and Christmas cheer and presents and food. Watching Elfie fall asleep, Noel realized that he was tired too. His eyes drifted around the room. He loved his family ever so much, his mum and his dad, and his grandparents. And his sister, Elfie. There was no one in the world he loved as much as her. And he absolutely loved Rudolph, the latest member of their family. Noel let the warm feelings of love and comfort sink into him. As his eyes drifted across the window, he noticed something outside. Light flakes of white snow were drifting slowly down from the sky. Soon they would accumulate on the grass and cover it in a thick layer of snow. So, he thought, tomorrow they could make snowmen, and he could use his new gloves to make snowballs with. For a moment he thought about pointing out the snow, but Elfie was asleep and he didn't want to disturb her. She'd see in the morning that it had snowed overnight. So Noel snuggled down next to his mum and let his eyes drift close. He was very sleepy indeed. And as he drifted off to the sound of the film and the low chatter of his mum and grandma speaking, Noel had only one thought on his mind. This had been, without a doubt, the best Christmas ever. Now we're floating into a deep and peaceful sleep. Feel how your muscles are relaxing. Your arms are heavy and your legs are too, as they loosen and release any tension remaining from the day. Feel how you let your body fall into the cozy warmth of your bed. Close your eyes. Let your eyelids be heavy. Breathe deeply. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out as you continue to breathe deeply, and as you keep feeling how your body becomes soft and heavy with sleep. Let your mind drift away. That is the wonderful secret about sleep. While your body rests, lying heavily in your bed, your mind is set free, like a bird taking flight from a branch and flying up and up and up into the air. Feel how your mind loosens now, like a balloon that has been untied from a fence, and floats up and up and up like a bird. Up and up and up it floats towards the sky until it reaches up into the clouds. Imagine that you have risen up high above the world and your head has poked up through the clouds. Then spread out all around you in the silvery moonlight, white fluffy clouds that look like cotton wool or marshmallows. They look so soft and squishy. You can lie back on them and roll around in them. Try it now. Lie back in the soft cradle of the clouds. Feel how they swirl and wrap around your body, holding you gently in the world of sleep. Clouds come in all shapes and sizes. Some are big and fluffy, some are slender wisps. Some look like puffy mushrooms, and others look like paintbrush strokes that have been left on the dark sky. Let your body relax. Let your mind relax too. Let your mind float off into sleep. You are peaceful. You are safe. You are being held in the cozy warmth of sleep. With your eyes closed, let your mind drift up, up, up and away. In the world of dreams, you can go anywhere you like. You can float on blue oceans with ripples and tufts of waves. Or you can visit castles built in the sky with spiraling turrets and drawbridges over sparkling moats. Or you can wander into the peaceful woods where the birds are twittering and the trees are dense with dark green leaves. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out again as you fall more deeply into your cozy sleep. And with your eyes still closed, take a look around with your mind at where your dreams have taken you. When I fall asleep, I dream that I've gone to a world high up in the clouds. Sometimes the clouds are dappled silver from the moonlight. Sometimes they're soft pink and gold, reflecting the light of the twinkling stars. What form do your dreams take? Where does your mind go when you fall asleep? Maybe in your dreams there are flocks of white fluffy sheep huddling together on the green fields. Look at the mother ewe yawn widely before she tucks her little lambs beneath her woolly fleece. Or maybe you dream of a friendly dragon, curled up with his tail wrapped around him, a little trail of clouds puffing out of his nostrils. Look, the cloud dragon is smiling at us and waving. What a friendly dragon he is. Or maybe you dream of cute puppies lying on their backs, their tongues lolling out of their mouths, their eyes closing because they've had such a long day. They look tired, and there's their papa dog, fluffy and white, padding softly over to wish the puppies good night. Up here on the sea of clouds, you can be free. Feel how light you are, weightless, floating, drifting through sleep. Feel everything heavy from the day lift off you and drift away, taken away by currents until they disappear over the bank of clouds. Any worries you have been having, watch them float away. anything that has been weighing on your mind during the daytime. Now you can let them go and watch them drift away. Your worries are not you. You are not your worries. You can let them go. Watch them float away. Now you are light as air. You are as gentle as starlight. You are as soft as the clouds. Up in the sleepy sky, everything is weightless and peaceful. The clouds stretch out like a sea of tranquility. Close your eyes and feel the clouds wrap around you. Feel them bearing your body gently into the land of sleep. Feel your eyes close. Feel them rest heavily as your body relaxes into sleep. Feel your mind lighten. Feel it loosen and drift away, light as a feather, soft as the clouds. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. The world of clouds is waiting for you. Let yourself fall into the clouds' soft, warm hug. They are here to protect you. They are here to cushion you. They are here to hold you as you enjoy your deep and peaceful sleep. Sleep well, little one. Sleep well in the land of clouds. Feel how light you are. Feel how weightless, floating, drifting through sleep. Light as air, gentle as starlight, soft as clouds. Good night, little one. Sleep tight.